In the history of the NAL, only 4 teams have ever started a stage losing their first 5 games. It's a club nobody wants to be a part of, but it may have a new member in about an hour's time. Oxygen and Soniqs over the last 5 years has been a matchup we look forward to every stage, but this time has a much different connotation. Welcome back to the North American League. I'm Jacob, he's Laxing, he is Foxay. We are now at a point where we might have another team go 0-5, and it was a team that was 5-0, the first team to ever do that to start last stage. That's a pretty dark contrast.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like this is painting the picture of a David versus Goliath story. You know, if there's a moment to bounce back, you know, we've been harping on OXG, but if there's a moment to bounce back,
I suppose
it's gonna be against the second best team in the league, because now Dark Zero is #1. So it's gonna be against the second best team in the league. I mean, you can only hope if you're an OXG fan.
I mean, it's kind of a situation. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on you. Fool me 3 times, shame on Reddit. Fool me 4 times, shame on Twitch chat. So surely, being this 5th time, this has got to be the one.
Yeah, no more mistakes here. This is when we really lock in if we're OXG.
The last time that there was a team that was 0-5 over the course of just the BO1 round robin stage, it was 2022, stage 3. It happened on OXG. When this guy was back on the team. To be fair, it also happened to Beast Coast. There were 2 teams that went 0-5 to start that stage.
Okay.
But this, I mean, do you remember what it was like starting off as an 0-5? You were trying things out.
Me.
It was no, not you. I'm looking through you.
I mean, yeah,
we just got rid of Lax, and then we got Sweater. Things were a little bit shaky, and obviously, like, we felt like things could go in our favor. We just needed everyone to be listening, all on the same page. And hey, we may have not done too hot that stage, but then we went to Invite and we got 3rd.
That's true. I mean, you'd already locked in an Invite at that point, so 1 stage going by the wayside.
I think there was a 99.8% chance you guys couldn't make it, regardless of you getting last place. So they were
something like that, yeah. But that's the thing that current OXG are doing their utmost to avoid at this stage. They lost 7-5 on Clubhouse yesterday against M80 to give them their current 4th loss, but admittedly that was a close half. It was just when they switched to their attacks, they let the game slip through their fingers.
Absolutely, and I mean, I'm gonna start by speaking it into existence, manifesting it for OXG. I mean, we've been talking about them negatively, but I wanna talk about them in a positive light for a little bit. They have such amazing individual players, and that's why the games have been getting so close, down to the wire, 1-2 rounds. They have not been getting smoked out, and they have great players. They just need a little bit of guidance. But one of those great players was Yogg, and he was doing such a great job bandit tricking against M80. Yesterday, we thought it was amazing. He was doing a great job at shutting them out, keeping it close, and making these rounds that we've talked about. If you keep the server wall closed, your team should be absolutely winning those rounds. And Yogg actually went ahead and got 8 different types of gadgets. That's Selmas, Thermites, and Fuse Charges. He got them all. And you got to ask yourself, that's crazy. That's such a high number that he could be getting. Like, oh my God, like how did OXG not win that game?
Yeah, but the problem is we know that they're mechanically skilled. We know that when push comes to shove, they can get their timings correct, but they're still the lowest team on attack in the league. Why?
I mean, the biggest issue is their communication and their coordination. There's not really an area where they have an understanding of where that meets and what everyone is doing. And this is around on defense that shows the lack of coordination. You can see Hat's in the corner. This is right after the CC bandit trick. Yogg, unfortunate wall bang, but Hat is still in the game-winning position, but there should be some type of game plan as to what his goal is there. If he dies, who's trading? Nobody's trading. And then Hyper goes ahead and gets another kill into Rafters. And again, there's still no swing. If you are playing these very exposed, open positions, going for game-winning plays, we've seen players like on DZ, the game that we just saw, Nafe had game-winning play yesterday. When you're in a position, you have to have an understanding at what's going to happen afterwards. And there just wasn't. Everyone's playing on their own page. The communication's not there. The game plan isn't there.
It goes into the just lack of leadership that we've talked about for so long, or the lack of guidance, as you said, that someone needs to be stepping up on this roster. It's not just on one person. It's literally on everyone to just be like, hey, we got to focus up. We got to play this. We got to do this. We got to figure out something. We just can't keep repeating mistake after mistake. And that's really the biggest thing. It really just comes down to the communication and coordination and lacking the guidance.
Yeah, there's never been a completely winless team in the NAL for any stage at any point, so it stands to reason that OXG are going to get a win somewhere in this stage. It's just the current best team in the league right now is the Soniqs, and they're standing across from them in the lobby today, who have been looking pretty darn phenomenal. Again, their only loss came on a chalet game to Soniqs not that long ago, but they bounced back again yesterday, and they're still looking red hot.
Oh, they're looking more than red hot. They're looking phenomenal. I mean, we question, what that ideology is going to look like with this roster, with Troy coming onto it and Surf as well, and it's been nothing but perfect so far. Sure, they had that little blip against SSG, but they immediately came back into the next day, bounced back, had a very good game against LG. To be fair, LG put up a really good fight. There were a couple rounds that probably could have went in LG's favor, but all through and through, I mean, Soniqs have just been looking amazing.
Yeah, Soniqs didn't fall prey to runouts. Surf had a really good game against his old team. Grixer did too. Again, that's an LG team with a ton of upside, but they still beat him yesterday.
Yeah, we were talking, how fast is Troy going to, get used to this roster and playing with these players. Well, you see right here, the Yokai drone being used for Ambi to have this quick jump out, getting 2 kills. Unfortunately, Ambi couldn't get this kill. He had to go attend a school class. But Surf here, he plays his life so well up here. They don't clear him inside bathroom. They don't clear him top white, and he plays this perfect because he gets 2 kills here. He gets the man advantage to be heavily favored, or at least equalized it, and then it just comes down to a 2v2. You get to play it safe. Time's on their side. They have to force the attackers to get the plant down, and they play it calm and collected. They wait for Luminosity to make the mistakes. Grixer ends up playing this beautifully. I mean, he kept his composure here in this 1v1. Grixer has always been a very well-composed player, but we speak of composure. Going into this next round, we didn't get to capture the beginning of it, but Nock ends up getting killed by Ambi. Ambi's just been doing such a good job and such a pivotal piece for this roster, but this is where I talk about composure. Is Silent walks through main bar, and this is such a power position. SQ doesn't know what's happening. He gets control of Cocktail, gets this kill, but as you can see, everyone on the board isn't moving. They're waiting for LG to make the mistake. And that is the composure that I'm talking about, is because some situations, people are going to panic. You're going to freak out. They're in sight, but not Soniqs. They play it smooth, calm, collect. They retake the site. They retake the situation, and then it comes into the last round. It's 1v4. No one's getting overzealous. No one's trying to go for this kill. No one's trying to feed their stats, and the Canadian shuts it out. And it just goes to show in each separate rounds that the composure that this team has, and especially in that last round, is truly what is propelling this team to the top.
Yeah, and that round specifically was very great discipline. They lose Cocktail, which is a very pivotal piece to that top floor on Cafe, and they're all waiting. They're not just rushing in with their heads down trying to just win a 1v1 and get it back. They're all waiting for the understanding of how we're going to retake it together. Fortunately for them, Silent gives up the position, walks into the rest of Soniqs, and because they were waiting, all trying to get on the same page, that was the strength of Soniqs, is they all want to get on that same page because they all trust and believe in Canadian as their IGL.
Yeah, Canadian in the interview has already stated everybody bought into the culture off the rip. Everyone immediately understood the roles that they were supposed to fit into, which is phenomenal for a squad that we weren't certain how the best player in North America of all time was going to fit into this team, and now we'll get to find out. The thing is, Oxygen still have yet to find a map that is their strong suit, and most of them got banned out here. So what do you do?
It's gonna be pretty.
Wait, Lair hasn't been banned yet.
It's gonna be.
Lair hasn't been banned yet.
It's gonna be Lair. It's gonna be Lair.
It's Lair!
Oh my God.
The first time we see it in North America, and Oxygen had the final option between that and Labs.
No, it makes a lot of sense if you're OXG to go to this map, because if you're playing against Canadian, something that we've always believed is that he is a very good leader, good at counter-stratting.
Yeah.
So when you don't want to take them to a map that you're already struggling on, that they have footage on, and the best place to take a top team is a map that has a bunch of unknowns, because even though you have a leadership issue on Lair, you can still find success because it's an untouched map.
You can play ranked,
essentially. Essentially, yes, anything could work because there's no way to counter things that no one's seen yet in NA.
That is a good way to put it. You are allowed to just play ranked here and play freely, and this map is still untested. I did just recently watch it in Brazil. I watched it from a very attacker-sided favor, but also very defender-sided favor. We haven't really seen a consistency across all regions of what this map really is. So I do like this for Oxygen, but at the same time, it is a little scary because rank can only get you so far when you're playing against top teams. Soniqs, I will believe that they're going to adapt quickly and understand what needs to be done versus what doesn't need to be done.
Yeah.
So the rank playstyle, I can definitely see getting some rounds, but again, it does come back to the guidance that this team lacks, that even in a new map that is untested, we do have to see that at some point.
Somehow I feel like the record OXG came into this game with got thrown out the window when it was Lair. because now we know how mechanically gifted those guys are. We know they can fire back. In a game plan where the whole strategy might just be shoot back because that's the thing you know best how to do on a map you don't understand, did this just become more even?
I think it's definitely the best playing ground that OXG could have went to. Obviously, you're still going to favor SQ, but on a map that's so big and so versatile, Oxygen definitely has maybe the edge on defense because there's a lot of ground to cover because it's so big. But then on the flip side of things, attack, there's so much map you have to take. So I'd expect if OXG has a game plan on this map, it's maybe a fast, aggressive rushing takes on attack and then very sporadic individual roams on the defense. But, I mean, at the end of the day, it is always going to be up to Soniqs to lose this map.
I completely agree with everything Fox just said. I think it's just going to come down to Soniqs truly digging deep, especially showing this map this early on, whereas maybe we would have seen it in playoffs. So we really got to see what this is going to look like. We haven't seen either team play it. It's really a toss-up in the air. But again, just due to Soniqs playing so well, you obviously got to give it to Soniqs.
Yeah, I mean, I know I predicted Soniqs, and so did you, but I got the lucky charm on. You know, if there's a time for it to happen, you know, you guys can do it today, maybe.
Well, let's see if the school both of you guys graduated from has the chance of coming back in this one. Soniqs are 9-5 against OXG since the pandemic, and they're trying to do what they've done for most of their time in a head-to-head, send OXG home with absolutely nothing. Welcome to Lair's debut in the North American League, casted by Sam Stewart and Carter Hannefeld.
And if any of you were around for stage 2 of last year, you know that Sam and I casted like 6 Nighthaven plays. Like, I think we had all 5 first Nighthaven plays in both NA and Brazil a year ago. So we'll see if Lair gets played 4 more times in rapid succession after this. Either way, our match between our, going into today, first place and 9th place team, Sam, will be the first play of Lair in North America. That's got to be exciting.
Yeah, you know, you can only pray so much for something to not happen to you and to happen to Parker first. But, I mean, it sometimes just doesn't work out, and you have to be the one to cast Lair first. And that's okay. That's okay. This map has been somewhat interesting to kind of get under wraps and at least give it its initial look, right? Go in, break things down, and kind of just see how the map ticks. And Carter, let me tell you, for lack of a better term, it's interesting. It's the biggest map that we have in the pool by far. The map is extremely large, and at least for me, from the very jump point, how do you get a proper offense going on this map? That's what I'm looking into today here. You know, we're gonna have the Doke ban, we're gonna have the Monty ban, so already pulling away a couple things. I really like the Doke ban here, especially just because the map's so large, right? Makes it to where they have to really dedicate their time to roam clearing. But that goes back to my original point. This map is so large that you really can't go for that full clear like you would on a traditional siege map. So we really have to just lean into these offenses and try and look at it from their perspective. How are they going to try and problem solve this?
Yeah, Lair is a map that can really punish a team that falls back consistently on full clearing. I mean, and obviously that might change once teams are able to play the map more, but as you said, because of how big it is, because of how many rooms there are, if you try to, second floor site's a bit of an exception, but if you try to like take everything on the first floor or the basement too, you could easily find yourself bogged down. And that might change as we play the map more, but because of how new things are and teams are still trying to prepare and find out how to play this, right now it could be very, very difficult, especially with OXG starting on the attacking side, still trying to figure out who is the one leading, who is going to be the one calling. No strategy has worked so far. Not a single victory, only 1 game ending in overtime and still ending in a loss. OXG trying to find their way back into the spotlight on new territory, hoping this is their ace in the hole as they are finally throwing the kitchen sink towards the wall.
And it's time, I guess. Time to open up this map for the very first time, too, as Oxygen's going to hit the field here on Lair. And what do we have at our disposal from the offensive side? Well, a solid amount of hard breach. I bet there's some secondary hard breach inside of Yaga's pocket as well. But the main thing that we're going to focus on is Diaz here. I think that we're going to see a lot of Nomad implemented on this map just because she provides such a good flank watch on a map that's so large. I think that's going to be the initial strategy for a lot of teams. Just try and find the area which you find or deem the utmost important and carve that area out of the map with things like air jabs, things like just solid drone placement on top of other utilities too. So we'll see if that is any assistance towards Oxygen and what their overall game plan is for the offense. As this first minute's already ticked off the board, we have a few bodies already inside of the map.
And it seems to be so far, we're already seeing where OXG are going to focus the bulk of their attack. They've already opened one of the breaches towards R6 room. Over, on the exterior side. I believe the outside call is display, if I recall correctly. But either way, Newer's able to find the first one, as I was about to say. The next place we're likely going to see OXG move on in is going to be from Operation and then move in through Mezzanine. This breach right here is so strong. It can stop the defense from, one, retaking up through Mezzanine, but also denying anybody trying to get the diffuser planted through the breach you saw opened earlier on.
Yeah, it's a huge point of this map, especially for this top floor. We see a lot of players just try and prioritize this. Not, nearly as much pro play on this just yet, but just from what we've seen so far inside of other versions of Siege, just a lot of priority when it comes to that area of the map. And we're going to see Newers try and hold on to this. It has a nice little crossfire there for across the site too, but 42 minutes off the board now. Oxygen have to start leaning this towards site, and although they do have a pick on Rexen, still some solid positioning here for Soniqs. They're going to take down Yogg as he tries to work his way up the main stairs. They're making life complicated for OXG.
Yeah, certainly so. Ambi looking to take another gunfight with the Nomad inside of Bathroom. The Legion in a bit of a tricky spot, and he won't find his way out of it. DS able to land the shots far quicker. Gritcher hops out, but somebody immediately going in for the trade as Gomez has stormed into the bomb site. The Tachanka meant to deny the plant from a long angle now has to fight CQC with an LMG. Somehow comes away with it as Gomez seems to be flying blind in that engagement. The Goomine will reveal DS's position and put the Nomad on very low HP. Down goes Surf. Pre-place C4 right beneath that diffuser. He'll walk outside to try to pick it back up. There's a Canadian with it, and it is! I wasn't sure if it was the mute, and indeed it is. The IGL wins the 1v1, and Soniqs take the first round on North America Lair.
And what else would you expect, man? They got the layers there, and not just the map name, but the layers of utility, too. They got all the information on that top floor, able to call that out for the Nitro Cell pre-place and get that big pickup. Oxygen, though, doing a pretty solid job of clearing out those initial portions of the setup, but Sonic's just adaptable in the moment and making the most out of it, especially for Canadian there as he gets that big pickup on Newers there, the top of main stairs. Able to knock that case on the ground and then make a play off of that. So very well done from them. And that's going to throw them into a basement defense.
Yeah, also like the overall strategy of that Tachanka to deny the plant at the long angle too. Kind of building off some of the concepts that we've seen from Tachanka in general, but also on that we just saw Beast Coast try to use on Consulate. But now we will go all the way down to the bottom floor, lab and lab support. This is one of the, I always like whenever people ask why is Lair said to be so big. Obviously, the first floor is quite large, but I always think of the basement because it just feels like one gray mass at the bottom of the map.
Oh, thank you. I swear, it's medics, isn't it? I know it. I know it is.
there is a very slight amount of blue light. I thank you, Ante nodding with the camera. There's a very slight amount of blue light in the middle, and the rest of it is just one big blob. But this is the site that I think is kind of like the site when we mentioned earlier. If you try to take too much control on Lair, you can really get punished. This is the site that I think of. Even if you try to do think of Clubhouse, oh, we'll quickly clear the second floor, then move down to the middle, execute with 45 seconds remaining. Yeah, you can't do that on Lair really, unless they're full anchoring, and you realize that pretty quickly. Soniqs are not doing that. Canadian has extended to the top floor, and with Pulse, is sitting using his heartbeat scanner to try and see if there's anybody outside of Operation, where we saw OXG push from last time, but they are more than aware of this.
Well, they know that the Pulse knows that somebody's through that wall, but how are they going to go about this? Dog's trying to work his way in through gun range. He does have somebody in play with him here, but how long does Canadian want to stick around? He's got a lot of solid flooring around him, so he can really just try and stick to this and waste as much time as possible. I think that's the main strategy here for him. Knows that there's somebody here on the crossfire, but is going to come under fodder himself. Surf is going to run out and get immediately gunned down, and now this is becoming very problematic, but Canadian's going to take a fight with the pistol. Ends up picking that up, but Gomez will trade him back. Oxygen going to lose 1 for 2. And this is looking decently solid, at least to start off. But Rexen still on this mid floor, making his way over towards the yellow stairs. He should get back to site without a hitch.
I should be able to, but OXG certainly firmly in the lead, even with, Gomez on low HP. A lot of potential to rat on this bottom floor, especially with OXG only on 3 drones. Soniqs could play the trades, but again, with just how many rooms and corners and little crevices there are in the basement, could easily find an inexperienced team. I mean, and everybody is inexperienced on this map. Overlooking a key position, making a bit of a mistake, and allowing, say, Rexon with the TCSG to try to make a play that we just saw Nafe do on Concept, a map that can also be, even though it's quite a bit smaller, can still result in a player finding a position that's gone overlooked. 40 seconds remaining. OXG still have that 4v3. Looking to consolidate, at the bottom of blue stairs and try to find a way to put this diffuser down inside the site. Ambi with the ability to get aggressive, pulls out the super shorty, but overcooks it a little bit. Hat waiting on the coverage, cuts him down. Grixer spots one through the hatch, but it seems like OXG might just have a way into this round. Long angle might be working Grixer's way, but it only puts Hat to 2 HP. This diffuser will go down relatively without a problem. 1v4. The Melusi to find her way out of. And it seems that the only thing she'll find is OXG winning their first round, and Gomez confirms it.
I think it's well done from both sides there. I think Oxygen have a very solid plan in dealing with the roam game. The big benefit there for them is that the kills didn't really go Soniqs' way. They just really weren't capable of garnering anything. And yeah, they're able to at least take away the timer from Oxygen, but there's such a stark man advantage in the favor of the offense that it just complicates things for the Soniqs. They're not really able to fight back in any considerable way once it does come down to the execute for the basement. I mean, all the way down to Ambi just being able to risk things through that, you know, that rotate and everything still being okay for OXG. Just nothing really to sweat for them as they went through that full clear. But I don't think it was a bad strategy from Soniqs, and that's what I was getting at with the fact that I think it was pretty even killed there. You know, if Soniqs gets one, maybe even, you know, 2 kills inside of that, you know, mid top floor, you know, situation that they have going on, I think things really go their way inside of that round. So might be something we see them revisit down the line, but as of right now, they're going to throw it into the mid floor and give Oxygen their 3rd brand new look of the map.
Now, our first of the mid floor sites, bunks and briefing. All the way on the eastern side of the map. Canadian back on that pulse. This one's a bit more simpler, I think. You have the pulse down below, whereas before, obviously, the pulse was above this site and just trying to gain information, maybe influence the roamers, though from an offside position himself that, as obviously as you saw, left him quite vulnerable to OXG players. Here, he can do basically the exact same thing, but this time just from inside the site. Rexon roaming around with the Vigil up above. Canadian safe, temporarily at least, within the confines of the bomb site, can give information to him to either get aggressive in operation, fall back to R6, whatever he wants to do. So, a bit, I think, more normal of a strategy, even though it might be the first time we're seeing it on Lair. Is important to note, by the way, this is obviously the not time we're seeing Lair in the world, or certainly in Europe, Brazil, and NA. Ironically, Sam, every region has had a 7-1 victory, or like all of the big 3 regions. Europe and Brazil have both had dominant 7-1 victories with dominant attacks, 2 overtime games with dominant defenses, and then Europe had like 1 mid-tier regulation game. So like, this map seems like, in theory, I think it leaned defender-sided, but it's funny that we literally have like results indicating both so far.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, what else would you expect out of the Siege Pro scene as well? I mean, just a lot of people favoring different things, right? Some teams really comfortable when it comes to their offenses, and their defense is still solid, but just not nearly as solid as when they get on offense in that comfortable seat. But we'll have to see how this map continues to pan out. I always give it the good, you know, quarter rule for the year, right? Give it 3 months and see exactly what's going on, at least initially. Let people kind of pan things out, see what strategies work, see what strategies don't. And yeah, try to use that as more of a jumping off point. Speaking of jumping off points, Oxygen's trying to jump themselves off into a frag here. Not too much going on, though. We do have at least an initial volley here on the main bridge area, this top floor. It's not really capable of getting much just yet. Really hoping we don't see a swing in from that window, because that would have been highly punishing. But Ambi's going to give it up to Diaz instead. And Oxygen fight 2 minutes to get that first frag.
A couple times now, Ambi's been punished on swings like that. OXG able to keep a pretty good handle on the aggressive youngster for Soniqs. But that kill does come 2 minutes into the round. OXG have been struggling to find a way into this building. They finally found it over by the Sky Bridge and making their way down green, but Rexon's still on the top floor. Oxygen might have a cutoff drone, but with only 3 remaining, the status of one is very, very unclear. And Newers is incredibly focused on Canadian, prone behind this desk. Oh, the Pulse avails himself for just a second. Surf now falls within the site. When is this flank from Rexen going to come out? Is it even going to come out in time? OXG have just taken control of the bomb site. Rexen does find one, but far too much damage has been done at this point. Soon the Vigil falls, and OXG take the lead with two very, very strong attacks.
Yeah, and these last 2 rounds, we've seen Oxygen casting quite a large net, haven't we, Carter? I mean, especially in this round where we see them take into consideration the entire top floor, get things droned out, see exactly where they can try and make this defense tick. And I mean, the Soniqs, they feel comfortable in the position that they've gathered, or rather been gifted from Oxygen, because they take quite some time clearing out that top floor. It gets down to a sub-minute. Ambi's like, hey, I'll take the fight. It's a 50-50. I'm pretty good, especially when it comes down to these gunfight moments like this, and he doesn't exactly win it out. That's perfectly fine. It happens sometimes. But what happens past that is that Oxygen kind of just riled themselves up. They're prepared for war there in that last minute, and they take it to the house up against Soniqs, who are constantly getting peeled back left, right, and center. Oxygen finally get them to practically existing inside of a fishbowl, and then just gun the last 2 down. There was really nothing that they had to be, too concerned about, especially going into like that last 30 seconds, because the kills just came in so bountifully to them after all that extra work went into those first 2 minutes.
With round 1 coming down to a 1v1 that Canadian had to win off-site with the C4. Quite a strong first 3 rounds for OXG. Could very well find yourself in a world where you're up 3-0 with even before that 1v1, just how close they're able to keep the man count consistently. And also 3 times now they've been able to win the opening engagement. So very good stuff for OXG to start in a position where we really need to see them start picking up wins to make this a viable stage. Callie on the board, by the way, to deal with this clash. And you can see he can actually spot the shield through the drone hole. Might be able to send a bullet in, knock the shield to the side, and maybe have somebody sweep in to try to get the kill on the clash. Bit of a role swap in the defense, though. Surf was playing that Tachanka last time. Now Canadians picked him up. And Surf has picked the Clash up in turn to play aggressively overbuying Operation. I think it's the same strategy overall, just with an addition of the Clash to stop OXG pushing from Operation like they did last time, but still a bit of an interesting change.
Oh, it's pure delay across the board. I mean, look at this op lineup. We got 2 people that place things on doors that are annoying. We've got so much delay past that. Clash, Smoke, and Tachanka. This is all just to get in the face of Oxygen, because Canadians recognize all of OXG's stuff is happening in the last minute. If they have stuff implemented to be able to stop that, then things are okay. But what happens when Oxygen game plans for things like this Clash? This is where things can really start to go awry.
This is also why the Mez position is just so difficult to deal with once that hole is opened up in Operation. If you try to push up, your only option is to either push forward or fall back. And especially as Clash, your only option is to fall back. So unfortunately, an easy position, I think, in hindsight, for Surf to get stuck in, and OXG playing really, really well around this. Close to an execute once again, and in a far better position than they were last time. Rexen might find the kill on Yaga down below, but what needs to work for Soniqs to deny this is this Tachanka. It is all the way across by the other bomb site, behind a deployable shield with a lineup to put these Shamika grenades on the breach and stop the diffuser from going down. OXG are still in position to land directly in the path of that fire, so they might have had a brief advantage, but this round is not certain just yet.
Well, 45 seconds remaining on the clock. The Soniqs have been able to keep things even, but that's going to change up real fast, quick and in a hurry. I mean, at least if you look at that before the fight goes down, nobody even tagging each other up on the door frames. But Oxygen, they have to hop too. They have got to work their way into this site. The case is on Hat. They're trying to work their way in through Ops, and Rexen's looking the wrong way. Newers isn't, though. He burns 2 to add 3 to the heap in total for himself in the round. It's all down to Grixer. He'll get 1. Come on, Grixie. Let's see it. He's got the swing here. He knows one's behind the desk, but can he get the frag? That's the key important factor here. He knows that rotation's coming through. He'll find Hat, and it's all down to the 1 versus 1 up against DS. Does he even know about this down? But he doesn't know about the hatch. Fortunately enough, Carter, he's got time. There's 30 seconds remaining, but if DS has recognized this, he can get Hat up. The rotation up main stairs. He's going to take the swing, and the fight comes down to this. Oxygen low HP, but oh my! Grixer gets it done, and the Soniqs tie it up off the back of Grixer's quad.
Two 1vx's for the Soniqs just to win this one bomb site. It has been an incredibly close affair for the Soniqs against OXG. It ties the game, but even after that, OXG are firmly in the lead when it comes to momentum, though I will say, aside from Newers going big on that entry, a 3K for Newers in round 4, the strategy for the Soniqs was almost going perfectly before Newers walked up mezzanine and got those 2 kills. Because, as you mentioned, Sam, there was both the smoke and the Tachanka. The smoke had a lineup, and the Tachanka did too. So every time OXG wanted to go in with 50 seconds left, they'd run into a Shamika grenade or a toxic canister. This forced Newers' hand to push in, but I think we saw Soniqs getting a bit lost in the chaos. Rexon putting his back to the single doorway of mezzanine, allowing Newers to get a pretty easy first kill. So I think Soniqs, even though they won the round, definitely getting a bit lost in the chaos right there, getting extremely antsy. That gave OXG a really strong chance at closing out round 4.
100% there. But somehow, some way, Grix are able to pull it back across the line. I think, you know, obviously that's the most impressive key of that entire round. But strategically, I think Oxygen had something very solid on their hands. A little bit quicker to the punch that time around, able to kind of bait out the utility game there for Soniqs, and having a solid understanding of the fact that if they sit there and they dilly-dally too long, they're going to get punished. In this case, it's not going to be going down. But Grixer's just shooting really strongly today, and they get punished pretty quickly there. So very well done from him. Gonna tie things up here into the 2 versus 2. Is already some fireworks here in North America on Lair.
I definitely think the first like 1v3 you and I have cast. I'm not sure though, but either way, definitely a big highlight play for Grixer. But OXG clearly showing so far that this was not really a gamble, that they are pretty well prepared on this match, and they might get stalled out by that strategy from the Soniqs, but when it comes to acquiring the control before that execute, they're doing it decently well so far. Now switching over to the Blitz to try to speed things up a little bit. We are back to the basement site. This went pretty well for OXG before. Canadian was on Pulse trying to get intel from a bunkered position, but he was pretty quickly found, pushed out, and dealt with, whereas now he's playing a bit further back, a bit closer to a staircase to retreat, and sure, I think that cedes a bit of ground quicker to OXG, but you're a lot safer, and Lair can take so much time to get all this control, especially when you're attacking the basement. I think it's a much better alternative for the Soniqs.
Attackers have recovered their diffuser.
Mid-floor control now here for OXG. Let's do the head count, folks. How many do you see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bodies downstairs from Soniqs. Exactly what you'd expect at around this time in the round, and even past that. What we saw from the previous round on this site from the Soniqs, a little bit of an extension got them pretty severely punished, and even though they were capable of peeling back and trying to play to their favor on time, things did not work out for them. It was actually very easy for Oxygen to bowl them over with such a crazy man count, and wow. Soniqs more than capable inside of the utility game as well. But what else would we expect, right? The Electro Claw goes out there from Rexon. It'll eat up that hard breach. And now Oxygen looking to try and work their way in through more of a funnel. Surf is going to gun down 1, but they're trying to find something for themselves. Just, they can't do it. The plant's going down for Hat 2. Oxygen, something's got to give. Nitro Cell out. Man, I can't even hand this thing off to Carter. It's down to a 1 versus 5 in favor of Newers. Or rather, in favor of Soniqs.
Well, yeah, I was about to say, I mean, Newers is good, but I don't know if he's that good, unfortunately. 1v5 when Soniqs basically get their entire plan to function exactly how they wanted it to. Seems Soniqs will guarantee themselves a tie half, as Yaga, unfortunately, has had to crawl back deep to the recesses of filtration just to try and make this on paper a bit more winnable. Shotgun close around the corner. It'll be Rexon instead to land that 3K. Overall, the past 2 rounds that we've seen, even though Soniqs might have come very, very close to dropping round 4, the story of these past 2 rounds have been Soniqs identifying that if we can just stop OXG from putting the bomb down and we force them to go into an execute with minimal control where they have to deal with our utility, we can win. And that seemed to be the game plan for most of the rounds. It's not entirely clear on rounds 2 especially, but in rounds 4 and 5, they said, all right, we're going to have the Tachanka, we're going to have the smoke, delay time, stop the plant. Grixer needed to clutch a 1v3, but if we don't have that Newers 3K, it almost worked out perfectly. This time, they say, all right, we're going to fall back, 5-man hold site. We'll try to force them into a bit of a limited take by just like fully stocking up the backside. OXG try to go for that, and what do you know? C4 lineup lands, even though the Blitz creates space and distracts the attack. Hat still goes down, 1v5 for Newers. So Soniqs reverting to this condition of just like fully focusing on plant denial. Again, will it work long-term in the strategy of Layer? We'll see, but for right now, it is keeping them afloat against Oxygen.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly what we see out of the Soniqs. And you know what else I like past that, Carter? I like that they were willing to kind of go for those bigger extensions in some of these rounds as well, just to truly test the full breadth of Oxygen and see how they're going to respond to things. I think they're going to kind of keep things kosher, keep things on that utility, that utility game, just because we've seen success with that so far. Whereas when we saw those bigger extensions, Oxygen were able to highlight those mechanics, get those big kills on their roam clear, and then make life complicated for the side setup of Sonic. So might shy away from that a little bit. We do still have Vigil here, so might still have some far-reaching threads, but more than likely going to keep things close to home at the end of the day.
Now, with that Vigil, obviously you can never be sure whether it's an individual player, whether it's something coordinated, but seems to be a bit more focused towards the site and horizontally. Though if OXG do go for another limited take, Rexon might find himself with the freedom to rotate around over by the rocket stairs up into mezzanine. We'll see. Newers on the glass, bearing 9 close quarters. Seems that OXG are setting up for another one of these direct takes over by the blue stairs. Maybe try to go for the smoke, cut off that long angle through the rotate hole that we see to try and stop anybody from getting aggressive on the doorway. I mean, when there's so much to deal with on the map, you feel almost kind of pigeonholed into going for these very small direct takes. If Soniqs realize that, they'll have a lot of room to work with. And I was about to say, this Electric Claw should work perfectly. 2 rounds in a row now. Soniqs have been able to deal with that hard breaching utility.
They try an EMP low too there, Carter. It just doesn't work out. That Electric Claw's too high. Barely scathes past that. Nitro Cell out, and oh man, so much damage done to New. Yaga not going to take nearly as much because of that shield, but Rexon, is he going to activate himself as he's made this rotation? This could be the play right here. Drone out. They're going to drone towards him. Oh, he'll find him. The backpack runs out in the nick of time. Favorable for the offense, but obviously not exactly the way Rexon wanted that to go down.
No, not at all. And Gomez is hunting down below in basement, ready for this exact contingency. Rexon can keep sneaking around, though. Because OXG have really only control of blue stairs, I mean, he is free to rotate around the vast majority of the map, even though it's a 5v5. So this is unfortunately a bit of the problem, as Soniqs, I think, have realized at this point that OXG are trying to go for direct takes, and that gives them so much freedom to rotate flank. But Gomez creeping up from the back should catch Rexon completely off guard. 5v4, but the utility is still in their way. The C4 is down Newers. He's picked back up, but you still have these toxic canisters and the angle that Grixer can peek from. So all the utility, all the angles, still solid because OXG have not acquired vertical control. Keep in mind, you can open some of the soft floor, and they're just opting not to do it. Surf will punish them severely as a result. 2-piece for Surf and Grixer alike, and what a bounce back for Soniqs in the first half.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, to your credit there, sir. I mean, first time we're seeing this map here in North America, and you're absolutely correct. There's a lot of verticality when it comes to playing that bomb site. And not only that, but I do believe there's also direct access from the outside on one of those panels too. But we see Oxygen try and combat things from this stairwell angle, and it just doesn't really work out. I especially love the way that Soniqs are consistently wasting their time. I think something to highlight here is the fact that although it might seem to the untrained eye as though Rexon didn't really get all that much done there just because he existed and didn't kill anybody, he probably was the biggest threat to Oxygen on that entire offensive round. He didn't kill anyone, but he wasted so much time, and Oxygen did not feel comfortable trying to make any headway towards the site with him still existing, or, you know, to their knowledge, existing around that stairwell. They finally get him dealt with, but the utility game is still so loaded on the site that they're able to thwart any game plan that Oxygen have going into the dying moments of that round.
And not only are they obviously he's just wasting time at being off the site, but like the exact specific angles he's holding are, either, inadvertently allow him to take a position that completely cuts off where the attack is trying to come from, bottom blue stairs into the site itself, or directly allows him to hold an angle doing that exact thing. Both the stairwells he was moving up were in a position where he could completely cut off the entry. And once that C4 went out and people were such low HP, even if you get that trade, odds are if Rexon holds that position, he'll be able to go 1-for-1 pretty easily as a result. So the sheer threat of him gave OXG a lot of pause. And then the positions he were holding were extremely impactful just by him even making OXG think that he was going to hold them. So really, really strong stuff for Soniqs to end that half. Sure, in order to get this 4-2 half, Canadian needs to win a 1v1 in round 1 on R6 room, and then Grixer needs to clutch a 1v4 on R6 room to get here. This could very well be an OXG 4-2 if the worlds were different. But after all of that, we saw a really strong defense on basement and a really strong defense on the first floor. Now it's Soniqs in the lead.
Hey, there's no replacement for talent, and that's what we see out of the Soniqs, right? I mean, those 2 rounds probably going to matter the most on this side. I mean, if you just completely remove those 2 from the equation, it's a 2-2, and really it's up in the air as to what goes down with those. And I mean, from everybody's eyes, we're going, okay, Oxygen, more than likely a round that you should pick up, but that's the reason we play these games, folks. Sometimes things do not go exactly the way that you think. And Soniqs with 2 big rounds to prove exactly why. Attack pods for right now, but a pretty interesting half there on layer. I think my biggest shock is that the offense isn't exactly running into the most amount of trouble processing through the map. Yeah, it's taken a lot of time, but we expect that, right? But they're actually getting some considerable pressure towards the site. The defense has done a very bang-up job, of being able to delay things out in a couple of these rounds and keeping their utility down to the wire there and really making it matter the most, getting in that sucker punch there up against the offense. But I mean, for all intents and purposes, I think Oxygen have a decent plan implemented for their offensive sides here.
And I also think that, definitely I would say like the weakest defense for the Soniqs was that, that first basement defense they went for, where they tried to do this extension with the castle and the pulse, and they just were able to deal with it pretty easily. But beyond that, I really like their strategy and their game plan overall as well in these defenses. Of course, we do have the side swap coming up, but we are going to take a short break as we get everything sorted out. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with the second half of Soniqs versus OXG. Welcome back, everybody, and in my opinion, what is often the best time for a tech pause, which is, all right, we saw a first half that was exciting, full of clutches. By full of clutches, it was in a third of the rounds that we saw, so that's pretty chock full of clutches if you ask me, especially for the first match of layer we've seen in North America, Sam. But now we've taken a breather, we hung out for a bit, we used the bathroom, and now we get to see how Soniqs perform on attack and how OXG can perform on defense.
Yeah, and quite a different look here from OXG.
Oh, we have a Scopos.
We have a Scopos in. We're on Talos right now, which, by the way, every time I hear Talos, that's probably for, the older... Actually, no, it's probably not even for the older heads. But this just remade this game so many times, dude. Every time I hear Talos, my brain just goes, Talos, the unyielding. Just every single time.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of other different, forms of Talos. There's a game called, I don't know, but it was like an indie game with Talos in it. Talos was also an actual, god. Talos was a giant automaton made of bronze to protect Europa in Crete from pirates and invaders. That's at least what the tagline of Wikipedia says. Which, as my librarian said, anybody can edit that, so it could be true or false. Who knows?
Yeah, my 6th grade English teacher used to be really mad about me using Wikipedia, so...
A minute in, we'll see what Scopos decides to do. I will say I saw obviously Talos was on the second floor, so I'm not sure where the other one is. But I mean, I imagine what we saw Newers do on Clubhouse. I mentioned earlier that we've seen teams either put one off-site and then play in-site initially, or play off-site initially and put one in-site. That's what Newers did. He put one in CCTV and then put the other one off-site, and then he would just fall back to the one in-site if need be. So that was the bathroom one that you talked about on Clubhouse. So we'll see if that's what he does here. Either way, most other defenders on the middle floor is only actually one player on the site at the moment for OXG.
Yeah, and that's the thing, the Soniqs. They're looking burly downstairs. Quite a few bodies. And they're likely going to try and rush in here, and I think that's exactly what they want to do. They've recognized that the site is, for the most part, hollow. They're going to continue to clear out these angles as they try and set something up to get this case down. Nobody's taken any damage. Gomez, that was self-inflicted from him dashing through a wall more than likely. Already have the cutoff set for these rotations too. Now the Soniqs want to try and play this out. This case is going to be on Surf, so pay attention to his positioning.
He's got maybe the best utility too. The smoke bolts to block the vertical angles. Firebolts now to block off any close or far positioning. Newers can basically teleport down to the bottom of that Scopos as well to aid the players on the site. Still, I believe, in the shield position. Maybe even rotated down to the first floor, but Soniqs are just so close to the site and are struggling to find their way back in. Newers can support DS at any time once he decides to swap, but frankly, Soniqs might just lose this round on time as we are waiting and waiting and waiting for them to push, and OXG are just barely keeping them at bay. Surf put to 1 HP, Oxygen with the advantage, 4v3. The DS takes quite a huge chunk of his HP away. 31. Canadian just spots somebody, domes Gomez, but it seems OXG are likely to make this 3-4 as Soniqs are so close to the site, just outside of it for over half the round, and they never set foot in it for long.
As soon as they get up to the gates there, Carter, that verticality starts coming into play. It's that verticality that we saw smoked off by the Capital, but there's still other areas inside of that site that you can abuse in the exact same manner. And it kind of stunts the Soniqs' growth downstairs. They don't really have something to rely on when it comes to that mid-floor clear. They do have some players holding on to stairwells, but nothing that's really assisting them when it comes to a lot of these positions that we see held by the defense, and they get punished for it. They try and work their way in. They try and deal with a couple of those players by throwing, you know, a couple bodies at the mid-floor, but Oxygen time and time again are capable of repelling them and complicating this offensive assault of the basement. So very well done from Oxygen as they're going to take that basement site into their hands. And now with round 8, they're going to head upstairs here to see if they can defend that in kind.
And not at all the long-range denial setup we saw from the Soniqs, where you had the smoke into Tachanka with lineups to deny a plant over by operation. This is a bit more what I think people would generally see in their ranked games. Like, you have the reinforcement by operation, a mirror window watching in to allow you to play aggressive, and of course you can very easily fall back into the site, assuming, you know, you don't overstay your welcome, because then you have to rotate right in front of the head holes. But this is a bit more my speed, I would say, from what I'm used to seeing in my lair games. Sure, OXG will execute it better, but we'll see. Fresh and friends can go hard sometimes.
Don't get Fresh that.
I know he's watching right now. It's like what? It's what, 2 a.m. British time?
Yeah, it's like 10 a.m. for him.
I know. What?
No, I meant like for him personally. Like he doesn't sleep type thing. Yeah.
I was like, I just told you the time. What are you talking about? It's like, come on,
no,
man.
I don't think it's 10 a.m. in Europe right now.
Well, I mean, it's probably 10 a.m. No, it's not 10 a.m. in Europe. It's 10 a.m. somewhere.
It's not 10 a.m. Oh my, yeah.
Now
you know what?
Now I look stupid.
You're frustrating me here on lair. You know what else is frustrating me? Oxygen's capability of getting these picks inside of the opening minute. Because damn it, boys, we're gonna lose Yogg, our bandit. He's gonna go down here. Not only that, I think it was a verticality. I think Ambi just walked right under him and was like, all right, well, skeleton key to the ceiling. Free frag onto the bandit. He's going to get rid of these mute jammers as well.
So, ironically, OXG actually quite good at getting the opening picks this game so far. Converting them? Not so much. But this time, around where Soniqs are able to find that opening pick on Yogg, deal with that bandit trick, they seem to want to go for this plant over by operation, but the Rexen over here, and who the hell has the diffuser? I know Surf does, but it's unclear where Surf is, because we got 2 people by bathroom right now. Rexen over by operation. I just saw Surf drop the diffuser, like, seemingly in the middle. So Soniqs are still trying to find exactly where they want to go. Could be a blitz through bathroom, though, to throw the entire core of the site into chaos. And with that bandit gone, very easy to open up this wall. Minute remaining. And I will say, the one problem OXG are going to have, their main source of denial is likely the C4 behind the mirror window, because with no smoke, no Tachanka, if these C4s don't land, Soniqs might find their way into a 5th round.
Yeah, it's not exactly the safest position either. You do have it on that soft panel, some capability to spam things through, and yeah, you can take a gunfight back, but it's a little risky. So we'll have to see how the Soniqs want to go about this, working their way through medical over towards the main lobby area. We do have a flank here from Newers. Oh, Newers! gets them both perfectly timed. I thought it was a collateral there for a split second, but no. Still has the remainder of that magazine. The Blitz almost getting punished too, as Canadian getting lit down to 50 HP. And Soniqs starting to fall to the very same sword that we saw Oxygen fall to. This last minute is just chomping at the bit to eat the offense up. Canadian goes down. It's a 2 versus 2. Soniqs have to try and contest. They have to try and fight this Mira setup, and they have the cross. I think this plant's gonna go down.
They do. Rex and Prone will quickly fall back off. Hat's able to find Surf, and with the shotgun, this is favoring him. Rexon's got to quickly fall back. Hat reacts in time. Shoots Rexon, 1 pump to the chest. OXG tie the game.
There's no team exactly feeling comfortable in their executes. Nobody's really found the true heart and soul on how to try and deal with these site setups. And both of these defenses have, rested on that knife's edge. They're trying to, force the offense down into bad timing and force them into these last-ditch efforts to get some portion of the site cleared out and get this case down. That's what Oxygen have hung their hats on in the last 2 rounds, and it's got them 2 rounds for their efforts. Now it's down to one of the best IGLs that's ever touched the game to try and figure out this side of the coin.
I think, is that every single defense of our 6 room as well coming down to a 1vX of some kind? We have a Hat 1v2, we have the 1v1 with Canadian, and yeah, the Grix are 1v4, so this site has been extremely difficult for the defense to win, and even though it has a 100% defensive win rate so far in this matchup, it has come at incredibly dire margins for the winning side. But still gone their way. OXG tied the game 4-4, and instead of going to the basement as their second site, which Soniqs prefer to do, they will instead go down to the first floor, bunks and briefing. And I gotta say, if Newers is able to hit flanks like that consistently and bob and weave through a Soniqs lineup, man, we could have a very, very rough time for the Soniqs in this attack.
Yeah, we really could. And honestly, I think it just bodes to all of the offenses on layer. This is something that you're always going to have to worry about. This is a roamer, a ratter, whatever you want to call it. It's just that kind of play style's favorite place. I mean, there's just so much area to work with. I would be terrified to see Laxing on this map in a competitive setting. I mean, it would be truly terrible for whoever was on the receiving end. But, I can dream only so much. We're going to have the Mav out here for Grixer. They're going to start accessing this outside wall. This is what I was talking about when we saw this site, picked up previously from Soniqs. There is an immediate access to the outside, so it's going to play somewhat similar to what we see on Clubhouse with those exterior walls, and they're going to try and prioritize this first. They'll get that left-hand panel open and immediately seek greener pastures here as their first job is done off their task list.
Attackers recovered the bomb diffuser. Attackers have located a bomb.
Able to open the exterior quite well. Which, of course, like you said, especially in drawing in the Clubhouse comparison, often the first step you want to go for. The thing we're going to need to see is how well OXG can hold this vertical control and stop maybe Soniqs from just walking in through that direct panel and immediately getting the diffuser down. See Solus in play, which we don't often see anymore. Of course, a whole lot of change to Solus. If you don't know far more than we can get into right now, all right, I don't know really what happened there, but...
I think they wanted the big breach instead of the little ace hop holes, and they called that, so that's why I threw the second one on the ground. It was like, let me not waste those.
It was just extremely hectic, because then the Maverick ran up to the wall too, and I'm like, we got 3 hard breaches on this problem.
Oh man, it's really whatever you want. Just tell me what you want, coach. I'll get it done.
I feel like I mean, it's been 2 minutes. The Soniqs have opened up these walls, but like these vertical angles are completely uncontested. I feel like this is going to be the end of them.
Too. Like, what do you do with this? You know what I mean? Hat's got this beautiful position here overseeing the breach. I mean, Yogg's playing right on the edge of this fire. They know he's around this area. He's fully blind, but they're still not capable of doing anything to actually dislodge him. Here we go. Hat finally going to take some fight, but it's going to get smoked off from the Capitao arrows flying in. So have another angle to support here from Gomez. It's going to be Canadian that actually goes down first, but it's going to be a trade at the end of the day. With sub 30 seconds remaining, Soniqs finally trying to get a plant down.
Finally trying, and might do so successfully, though it's spotted by, I believe, the Solus from up above. It's Yaga to shut it down. Man advantage established. Yaga going huge. Make that 4, though it goes wide. And be able to recover. Hello? 1v1. He recovers that diffuser. It's warded up top. There's so many vertical angles. Ambi is, hold on, finds a way into the bunk, but the Warden's able to drop down. Does he know Ambi's here? Yes, he does. OXG, 3 rounds in a row. 5-4.
On the defensive side, starting to prove its worth here on Lair and just how difficult things can be for an offense. I mean, folks, look at how Soniqs are stunted simply by some solid vertical play. I mean, we see the arrows come in to smoke off Hat's position, but not only do we have other angles working their way in, but we have nobody available to shut down Yogg on his swings as he works his way through sight. So just a large conundrum for the Soniqs as they work their way in, constantly taking fire from multiple different angles and getting shut down all the same. A beautiful moment there, though, as they are able to somewhat gather things back under their control, but not able to get that plant down successfully as Soniqs recognize things, or rather, Oxygen recognize things very quickly and are able to take down that last SQ member. And 5-4 in favor of Oxygen. I mean, from that initial start that we saw from Soniqs when they were on offense there, I really thought, or rather, when they were on defense there, I really thought that we were going to see them kind of run away with this map here.
Yeah, I kind of had that feeling too, only because I think just, you know, when you lack a lot of evidence of what this map can be, you think, all right, Soniqs in the lead, you know, we're trusting in Canadians' prowess. It seems like they're going to be looking very good, but again, keep in mind, you kind of counter that very point. You know, that first half was incredibly close. I mean, if Canadian doesn't clutch that 1v1 and Grixer doesn't clutch that 1v4, I mean, this is a 7-2 victory for OXG after that round win. So it's been incredibly, incredibly good from OXG in this match overall, and if those 2 rounds don't happen, this is their first victory, and Sam and I are done for the night. Going back to the bottom floor, they're continuing this trend. They're forced Soniqs to take their tactical timeout, and while it is a close 5-4, this bomb site, it was basically the same story as all the other bomb sites that the Soniqs have tried to play. It was pretty slow. They get to the edge of the bomb site, and then they just cannot seem to find secure footing actually inside of it. They got close on our 6 room. Hat still won the round.
Yeah. I mean, it's just such a difficult map to bunker bust, Carter. That's really the key thing here.
All right.
And when you have players like Newers who are more than capable, more than confident, and also just comfortable at the end of the day with taking aggressive peaks like this, life just gets worse. You think back to early, you know, Cafe and things like that, where if somebody died on the offensive side, especially in the utility meta, I mean, your life is ruined, right? Like, there's really nothing you can do. You're just like, all right, well, I guess we try and funnel, and we all die to defenders holding nice angles. And, you know, with the way that the timer's been working against the offense in this game, these are the moments that you cannot have go down, especially with the operator they lose. This is what's here to try and assist them with this clear. They're supposed to be able to drone things out, find somebody, and then start death marking them to bits. But they can't even do that anymore.
And like the operator that Damos is like most suited to find in this lineup is like, I mean, obviously the Oryx I think is the big one, but like is really good at finding Scopos. Like OXG have decided like they want to use Newers to basically like give him like not necessarily a second chance or a 1-up, but like give him the position to play aggressive. And then he could just teleport back to the site if he wants to. And so if you're able to use that Deathmark tracker to like hunt down Scopos or hunt down one of these Realmers, you're basically nullifying what so far has been the win condition for OXG, or like maybe not the win condition, but has been a really strong force that OXG have had on these defenses, either the threat of it or it actually happening, as Newers multiple times now has found and made a flank work really well. Hat with the 2nd kill for OXG cuts down Canadian. And match point is looking very, very likely here. Keep in mind, going into the day, OXG were firmly in last place, only gathering 1 point from an overtime loss to Wildcard, the team in 8th now. Sorry, no, team in 7th, excuse me. The results did change today. But as this round keeps going on, it is a slow death for Soniqs. Oxygen might not be out of trouble, but it's quickly looking like they might be able to bounce back just yet.
Oh? 2 big pickups.
Well, hold on.
We did still have that body in the mid floor from Oxygen. I don't know if we'd had them rotate back yet. I do believe it was Yogg, and yes, he is still here. So he's going to work his way over through the green hallway. Does have a couple of options to get back downstairs, but we already have another body down low as well. No case in anybody's hands as of right now, as they do have to work in to pick this back up. With sub 30 seconds remaining, Soniqs have got to find more than likely another frag and a good position to put this case down, because it is going to be an onslaught to try and kill this planter.
It's also, I think it's going to be difficult for Soniqs as Yaga wraps around. I mean, he's got the timing, he's got the positioning. He is going to destroy Soniqs at the exact moment they are weakest. Grixer's ready for it, looking at the hatch, but this is the only player who can cover. He's dedicating all of his focus to this, and he almost loses it, but Rexon gets the diffuser down in time. Grixer, no, not another one! Not another 1vx for Grixer. Instead, it's Hat's second of the match to net OXG. Match point, 2 counter diffuses in 1 half.
Defenders win.
I mean, it really just comes down to how favorable these defensive rounds are for Oxygen at the end of the day, right? I mean, you think about the play style of each one of these individual players on OXG, and you just go, yeah, they're very capable inside of gunfights. They're very capable of finding those advantages early on into the round. And Lair, it pushes that to the limit, Carter. I mean, when you get these early picks, it is so difficult to try and fight your way back in. You're playing a man down. You're trying to clear this huge map. And not only that, but you're trying to stake claim over a portion of it so you can actually get a play out of the bomb site, right? And Oxygen, just time and time again, are just stomping on the Soniqs at every single turn. Yeah, it's a little messy there inside of the last portion of the round, but they have the man advantage still, and they're more than trusting in their system to be able to get these refrags. Really well done from Hat there, especially as he's the one that truly nips it in the bud. But overall, beautiful, picturesque siege from Oxygen and what they're being asked to do here on Lair.
10 seconds to insertion.
And talk about, if Oxygen are able to close this out, talk about what an impressive first win this would be in the NAL. Able to take down the current first place team on a brand new map for both squads against an IGL really known for adapting on the fly very well. I mean, this is a high quality win to net if Oxygen are able to stick the landing. 6-4, we've seen wider comebacks happen, but when it's come down to clutches, both teams have shown they are capable of pulling through in those really dire moments. In Hat's case, on this bomb site in particular. Hopefully it doesn't have to come down to that same metric this time, as Oxygen's defensive strategy is similar to Soniqs' adjustment, bringing the clash on the top floor.
Yeah. But we don't have the collie from Soniqs.
No.
I'm disappointed in Canadian,
that was important.
dang it.
That was important for how Oxygen cleared that.
How dare he not recognize game there? I thought game recognized game, right? But apparently not. No, they got plenty of things to be able to try and deal with this. Don't have anything that's exactly direct. You'd really want a Zofia, or like what we saw with Kali, or somebody with nades or something of the sort. Capital you can kind of toss in there with his fire arrows too, but they won't exactly have a direct way of dealing with her, but they should be able to at least operate around the knowledge of her and pull things off as a squad. Some smokes in here. Rexon's going to take out one. They're going to get in the face of the clash here, and Ambi's going to be able to gun him down, and that's what we're saying. Not a direct way, but solid enough. Smack the shield away, have somebody gun her down, and that's really all she wrote. 5 versus 3 in favor of the Soniqs as they are trying to do their damnedest to get this offense under wraps.
I think it's a bit of a new map moment, just kind of not aware of all the angles you're kind of exposing yourself to. Yaga able to find a bit of a tight squeeze for those bullets into Mezzanine. And that does drop the Blitz, who did his job in taking down the Clash, but you definitely like that Blitz to create a bit more space overall. Rexon alongside Surf and Operation, the former with the diffuser, so likely going for the same plant spot that they did before. Breach open. Wow, that lightning was real close. Sorry.
No, we could hear it. Don't worry.
Did you? All right.
Yes.
That actually low-key scared me. I'm not even gonna lie. That was like immediate. Anyway, back to the game. 45 seconds remaining. Soniqs still going for that plant spot, but if you notice, it's still electrified. They have failed to open up this immediate wall, but they might win this on kills anyway. Sam, as with 35 seconds remaining, Soniqs might not have their win condition down, but they have the 4v2.
They most definitely do. New with a pretty aggressive swing there from our central room and ends up getting gunned down. They know that Yog's overplaying off of this panel. Getting aggressive is Yaga, but he cannot find the head of any player. And back and forth on this carousel we go. Finally, somebody's going to be able to take down Gomez. Yog will go down to Ambi's hand as well. And the Soniqs will stave off the end of our day here by at least one more round. You can see Canadian still locked in. Job's not done yet. We need 2 rounds, I do believe, in order to pull this into OT.
Yeah, and definitely so. I mean, sure, Soniqs were able to win that round, but so much of it after that initial blitz, no pun intended, onto the Clash, felt a little happenstance. I won't lie. I mean, they were able to push up and get control of Mezzanine, deal with the Clash with the blitz. Really quite nice. Sure, the blitz falls after that, but they've got the 4v3. They dealt with sort of the bulk of the defense, actually like stopping them from taking control of operation. Good overall. But when it came to fully, I think, acquiring like a winning position in that round, it was tenuous. They weren't able to open up the office wall. They were really struggling to push beyond the bathroom position, and they had the advantage, and Soniqs are quite good at winning their gunfights. They're able to make the best of it and end up winning the round, but Oxygen's still doing a pretty good job, even in the 3v4, from keeping Soniqs a bit on their toes and keeping them a bit uncomfortable trying to get that diffuser down. As we move to the final site of regulation, potentially the final round before we go into overtime, we'll have all the way over on, I believe, the opposite. No, this is bunks and briefing. I will say, I keep switching these first 4 bomb sites in my head sometimes, but we will have bunks and briefing as our final site. See if OXG can close this out 7-5.
Yeah, it's first time here. First time jitters for us as well, right? I mean, we got to work it out. I'm over here looking at charts.
Well, I mean, I got Thor outside my window right now, so I'm kind of concerned.
Just smashing Mjolnir against an anvil, huh?
I'm not, like, Sam and I were talking about this before. I do not find thunderstorms comforting. I think we evolved to be weary of them for very justifiable reasons, and I don't want to, like, override my evolutionary instincts. I would prefer they weren't happening.
I mean, you know, we did hide in caves from storms, but at the same time, they're so good to sleep to, man. I mean, like, I can't, I'm just saying, maybe at the end of the day, you should just, you know, try and cuddle up next to a thunderstorm and see if you can sleep well.
You turn on SpongeBob to fall asleep, don't you?
Dude, no. Yes, but no. I wouldn't put it past me. I'm just saying that. You know what else I wouldn't put past me? Trying to figure out what the hell is going on with this defensive setup right now. Do you see the amount of vertical angles we've gotten? This looks like we've got RAM on defense. It's just angle after angle.
It's like I'm watching Library Lounge on Villa. It's just like literally the entire floor ripped out just to deny the plant from up above. I mean, I like it. It's just a good strategy to defend that middle floor. It's not exactly the easiest to anchor in, and if you just hold the second floor, which is just like a couple rooms, and you get so much vertical control, combined with the castle, and you've got a pretty mean second floor setup. It's taken Soniqs a minute 40 seconds so far just to begin to unravel this. Hat's the first to go down. Candela is clearly working quite well as one goes out, and Cirque immediately gets a kill as a result. Rexon on the hop, and doesn't even find any damage. Soniqs are taking quite a lot in turn. 2 players on 1 HP. Surf trying to find a way to clear out this roam. OXG, even in the 4v5, finding ways to wrap around them, but Soniqs now tightening the net. Ambi picks up the Sonic second, Hayden with the third. And if OXG were hoping for 3 points out of today's game, it seems they will unfortunately not have their prayers answered.
Yeah, Soniqs set up at the marks across that entire top floor, and as soon as the starting gun goes off, they are able to clear out that entire section. All that verticality now being handed over to them. It's all down to New, but Grixer will sweep that under the rug, and the Soniqs will at least guarantee themselves 1 point here today after a very dominant defensive half from Oxygen that looked like it might slip through their fingers. They'll at least guarantee that and have the potential to pull it fully across the line for an extra point on top of that.
I don't know why. I've never seen somebody actually just get up before. I was like, what?
Had to go for a walk real quick.
I was like, where's he going? Like, come back.
What would you do if he just started doing jumping jacks in his room?
I'd respect it. You gotta keep the blood flowing. We've had 5 1vx's, by the way, so far this game. We had a Grixer 1v4, Canadian 1v1, and then 3 OXG 1vx's. So it has been quite a crazy game, though I think somewhat indicative of like the fact that this map is new. It's like, okay, well, sure we got an advantage, but converting it is we're still workshopping that one.
Yeah, everybody's acting like they know what's going on, but nobody knows what's going on because we haven't really rehearsed this all that much, have we? I mean, guys, we're even acting like we know what's going on. Okay, I mean, this is what happens with every new map. So, were you just trying to go against the grain? Is that what you were just trying to do?
I was trying to defend my reputation. You're like, we don't know what's going on. I'm like, all right, you know. I played a few I played ranked games in this map. Okay, you know, listen.
Yeah, I can tell you right now,
really
none of my
impressed
ranked
something.
games were indicative of how this game right here is going. I can tell you that
Okay,
for
and
sure.
I mean, listen, I have seen quite a few. I've seen quite a few armory and maintenance attacks end just by a team sitting at the bottom of blue stairs. So I can immediately disagree on that one.
Listen, man, I'm sorry, but my roaming Mira on top floor when I'm playing basement doesn't really, give me the best sample of.
That's because you're a bum. That's a completely separate issue. Anyway,
My bad. I'll check myself in next time. Apologies.
That's fine. Anyway, basement is the first site. Neither of the first four ones that we were talking about or that we just saw. Keep in mind that Soniqs so far on this site have struggled to actually get inside. Hey, I'll give Soniqs this. They are consistently on the bottom floor. They are consistently outside of the site. But both times they've tried to attack this, they try to bypass the roam, and then they just get stuck in the tunnels down at the bottom of layer with really no ability to convert that little control into a successful execute.
Yeah, and it's so difficult, right? Because this entire garage area is pretty easy access for the offense, but as soon as you start operating in through, the medical area down there and a couple of these rooms that are oversaw by the defense, things become difficult. There's a lot of verticality that can play into these, and that's what complicates the position so much. That's why we see the Soniqs going about things in the way that they are. They're going to get some positioning downstairs, but then you have Canadian here to try and assist with this clear of the mid floor. I mean, Oxygen even have somebody all the way upstairs to try and deal with this via flanking. Rexon's going to give a little giggle, a little tizzy here as he ends up taking down Yaga. A rush in from Canadian. Grixer's going to take down Gomez, and oh man, are we going to get a Legion down too? I think we will. Soniqs all across the board. Newers will be able to fight back a little bit, but Oxygen are not looking green at all.
I'm kind of wondering what the hell has happened in the past 3 rounds. I mean, we had 4 rounds in a row for OXG, admittedly, all very, very close. Hat 1v2, another 1v1, another 1vx from Gomez, but one where it felt that they were constantly keeping Soniqs at bay and forcing them to overperform a little bit in the late round. And then all of a sudden, Soniqs, 4 people left in round 11. Flawless round in round 12. Now another 1v4 that OXG find themselves in, and seemingly winning every single gunfight and getting everything they want. It has been a complete about-face for Soniqs, and now they find themselves on match point. Keep in mind, OXG only have 1 point from an OT loss, and at one point they were up 6-4 and had 2 1vx's knock on Soniqs' way, could have closed this out 7-2, and now they're in danger of losing the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, at a bare minimum, at least they do get a point from getting to overtime, but this is not how they wanted things to go down, especially when you look at the very start, our first 6 rounds that we see out of this game, all going the way practically of Oxygen, just victory after victory. Soniqs grasping at straws to try and get something going, or rather, the opposite. Soniqs doing a lot, Oxygen doing very little. And then all of a sudden we see this very dominant defensive half from OXG. Nobody really capable of figuring out the offensive sides. And then here inside of round 11, a completely different face shows up from the Soniqs. But honestly, I think it comes down to this, Carter. I think Soniqs are taking their time a little bit more and really prioritizing what the initial portion of their strategy is. Good example in that last round was they get things set up downstairs, but nobody moves into an area where they can get punished from verticality. They're just holding door frames and things to see if somebody's going to try and get aggressive off site, right? And then we see Soniqs activate themselves in that mid floor to start dealing with those roamers, start dealing with that verticality on that mid floor. And as soon as they start getting those big kills, that's when we see the pressure play downstairs, and Oxygen bodies are just falling left, right, center. It's just across the entire board, and Oxygen just really don't have a leg to stand on past that. When you're losing 4 bodies in a 15-second volley, that's when things really start to fall off the wagon.
Damn, I mean, looking at I suppose sort of the record for Soniqs, this makes sense, but they won 4 sites in their defensive half. They won basement once out of 2 times they played it, and they played each of the first 4 sites once, lost bunks, won armory. They've won R6 room twice, but those were the sites where the 2-1vx's needed to happen. I think it really shows Soniqs' confidence in this strategy, which I think is very well placed. I think especially the Tachanka and the smoke iteration of this was a very, very strong top floor hold. And even if the rounds came down close, even if, the reason they won it that second time was a 1v4 from Grixer, I think Oxygen had a really hard time dealing with this long-range utility setup. And even if these rounds came down very close, I think this strategy is very strong.
Yeah, 100%. Especially if Soniqs are able to keep the bodies up, right? If they're able to successfully keep Oxygen at the gates and then start to use this utility to keep this case out of the sight in the late round, this is where things are going to become hyper potent for SQ. For Oxygen, obviously it's trying to thwart that. They want to try and move with this clock and an ebb and flow. They want to make sure they have time to try and process things and find a safe haven for that case to go down on site. But you can see everything for both of these squads building up to this point. Is Soniqs going to be successful on this extension, or is it going to be Auction that's able to battle back against them, get some of these exterior kills so that they can work towards site in a successful way?
And that angle outside of operation has been very, very key for Oxygen. Keeping control of that mezzanine position, especially when the Clash was on the board. The strongest example of it, no, obviously no Clash here, just having it, stopping anybody from retaking up mezzanine, it forces Soniqs to fall back on that utility, which admittedly is very, very strong. So even if you do that, we'll see what Oxygen are able to accomplish. Very, very strong site hold for Soniqs and OXG. I think we'll probably spend the next 45 seconds, in all honesty, just clearing out this utility inside of the site. I don't think there's much they can do beyond that right now. Well, hold on.
Yeah. I think we're going to have a lot more happen in here just in a second. That's waiting on the call. Has the Kandala in hand. And it's going to be a complete onslaught. Any way you cut it. 5 versus 5. Sub-minute here. Something's got to give. And honestly, I'm getting a little worried for Oxygen.
I am too. It seemed like maybe they were setting up for a Candela and a backstab from Gomez, but now as DS rotates over to the opposite side, I think they are understanding sort of the utility play that Soniqs have been getting at every single time they've done it. But here's Newers over by Mezzanine with the diffuser. Are they just trying to go with this off of kills? I mean, this could work out, but it's going to be very risky. DS moves in a bathroom. Grixer just outside. Trying to hit a backstab from this position is so difficult when you're separated by that half wall that's separating Hat and Diaz right now, with all the Soniqs guns consolidated in this position, but they're winning the fights. Gomez and Diaz, his gunfights both go their way. Ambi might manage to fight back, but Oxygen have hit the ground running. They found the momentum they needed. It's only Ambi able to mount a consistent defense against this OXG assault. He holds control of Mezzanine, and that might be the key to this entire game as Canadian fights back to make this a 2v2. Spots another, down he goes. Only one player remaining, and he downs himself in a frost mat. A brutal finish for OXG as they let a potential 7-2 slip away through 1vx's and then a 6-4 to a 4-round comeback.
Carter, you come for the king, you best not miss, because he will punish you severely. Canadian with a great display of power from the IGL position there, as he's able to take Lair back under Sonic control. And yeah, it takes overtime, but hey, it's the very first game here in North America, so we'll give him that.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie to you, I tried to put my foot down on the floor and I stubbed all of my toes against my desk real bad.
All of them?
I stubbed all 5, even the big one. Oh, that hurt real bad. Oh, that did not feel good. As I imagine OXG are probably feeling, that was just a natural segue. As OXG are probably feeling after that game, because, I mean, it's a really bittersweet game, I think, for us as well, because obviously we've been talking about how OXG have been struggling, they've had their problems, and certainly the attacks, I think, didn't look great, but it's also like Lair, Soniqs attacks, frankly, didn't look all that great either until the very end. Like, both teams had major problems. And to see them still lose and not get rewarded for that effort, man, it's really heartbreaking. And we do have, Jacob, Lax, and Fox on the desk to talk about it, but man, I kind of wish OXG got a few more points out of that one.
Going bomb.
Cover the diffuser.
Reset, bomb down.
10 seconds left.
Post dust.
Frost matted.
Let's fucking go.
Let's fucking get it.
I just hit the most legendary
Let's go.
accidental flank of all time, bro.
Let's go,
Yeah,
dude.
boys.
No,
Frost
dude.
mat.
Yeah, honestly, I'm with Carter. The opportunity for OXG to get a couple more points on Lair was right there, and it just slipped through their grasp. It would have been nice if they didn't join the now 0-5 club. They are now the 5th team in North American League history to lose their first 5 games of the stage. Meanwhile, for Soniqs, as of right now, they're the undisputed North American kings of Lair until someone knocks them off that pedestal.
Yeah, I mean, be that as it may, where OXG currently is, being 0-5, that wasn't a bad game from them. That was actually a really good game. I really liked the innovation, especially the first time seeing that map. The way that they were stumping SQ on those defenses was very creative. I love the vertical play. I love the top-down play from OXG. I really think they had a good understanding of the map. Now, as time went on, as the rounds progressed, Soniqs just had such a good adaptive style on their attacks to eventually beat the defenses of OXG that they were losing. And OXG didn't have, I guess, enough time in the map to transfer some things and make some things work. And SQ, I mean, just it would literally look like they were just IGLing as the game went. It was great.
And I think that just plays into game day reps. Scrims, you can look phenomenal on it, but once you get into game day, that's where you really get tested on your fundamentals. And Oxygen, yeah, I mean, they did look really good. Yeah. I really thought that this was going to be the game. This is where they were going to do it. And you talked about it going into this map. You really liked it for them, and they started out very strong. But then, like you said, Soniqs were really bouncing back on their IGLing. Wow. And I mean, it just...
Yeah.
This really did go down to the wire. And it really came down to a clutch round from Grixer that ultimately would have solidified this round for Oxygen had they got it.
Yeah, 9 opening kills. I mean, obviously, just the amount of times you get that opening kill, if you're not able to convert it, that is just little issues that happen. And I'm sure OXG is going to be watching that game back and just, you know, just kicking themselves at that. There was some of the rounds that they just let slip through, but still, it was such a great showing from them. From what we've seen so far, that was the best looking Oxygen that we've seen so far. Soniqs, I mean, of course, you can't take anything away from them. They are currently the best team in NA, so you'd expect them to get away with it in the win. They adapted on the fly, and I mean, they showed why they are the team currently standing in #1 spot.
Yeah, I think we'll be questioning for a minute if OXG can't get wins on known maps, what happens when they can't also get a win on an unknown map that teams are still trying to figure out. However, for the Soniqs to break ground on a new map and only lose 1 point from that entire endeavor is honestly still really good for a map that the league itself is still going to have to figure out. And when it goes into international play, I mean, it's not getting very much regional play right now. For Soniqs to break ground there and get a dub is phenomenal for them.
Yeah, that was a great litmus test on how Lair will be played, and I'm sure a bunch of teams that I was watching have their own stuff, their own hidden strats. I mean, there's still so much that you can do with the map. So now people have a VOD that they're going to take, and they're going to look at what OXG did and what SQ did and see what they can make better, what they can change, what avenues were open, and what positions people mainly played. I think it's going to, you know, the map's going to be seen a little bit more before the end of the stage.
Yeah.
Reminds me a little bit of Border when you're going ventilation or workshop, that you play that top floor, you play top armor, you play top arc,
all that verticality,
and you don't really have to touch the bottom floor. You just have to hold the top, and that's what I really like that OXG did. It kind of reminds me of that. But again, I am more excited to see what Lair can look like for the future because again, it is still untested waters. We've seen it very little throughout all the region. We just saw it here for the first time in NA.
We wanted to put a guy who had 17 frags in this game in the interviewer's chair. We have Grixer on the line. Brother, congratulations on getting the first Lair win in North America. Talk to me just about the map in general. Is it a map that you like? Were you happy when you saw it come up as the one you were going to play today? Give me some general thoughts on Lair.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the map, you know, it's definitely nice to finally have a different map. I think, like, especially replacing Oregon. I think Oregon got, like, pretty stale, you know. I think Oregon's been played, like, forever since, you know, since the game came out. And Lair's definitely, like, refreshing. It's definitely fun playing it for the first time, but I feel like as nice as it also is, like, as hard because there's no review on anybody, you know, like, OXG picked it. They've never played it before. We've never played it before. So at that point, I think it just comes to, like, who has just a better map at that point.
Well, Greg, so I want to congratulate you on not only your performance, but how well you guys have been performing. I want you to kind of run us through that 1v2 clutch that you had on Castle. I don't know if we can pull that up for you to be able to see as well here any second now. But again, I do want to talk about that round because, I mean, there was so much that happened in that round from your point of view, and I would just love to hear your in-depth sight on that.
Yeah. So, I mean, that round was like like a 1v2, 1v3 or whatever, but it was like, I was in a pretty good position. Like, it didn't really feel like I was at such a disadvantage. It was kind of unlucky in the 1v2 though, because I did down the Cali, as you'll see, and then I accidentally dropped the hatch when I was trying to just hold the Nomad's walk away. So when I actually dropped the hatch, I thought they were gonna res him. And then when I walked up the med stairs, I saw his laser on the wall. like right when I walked up to the right, so I knew that he was holding like either an aggressive angle or that he was like backed up further. Which I don't really know why, honestly. Like, I feel like he should have just either res right away or just played more passive.
Yeah, and what?
But yeah, I mean, what's up?
I was gonna say, what were the comms like? Was it just very quiet? Were they just letting you focus on that, or were you kind of getting fed information throughout that entire play?
Pretty much just letting me focus. Unfortunately, we like lost the info like relatively early on in the round, so they were just kind of letting me listen. And I mean, it definitely helped because I heard the guy get downed, and then yeah, I mean, it was just a lot easier when you can just like fully focus on just like, you know, trying to clutch around.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you guys were very focused, and we saw you guys actively trying to better each attack and be able to overcome OXG's defenses, which obviously had you guys in the first half. And when you guys see a defense setup and then you see the exact same setup a couple rounds later, what does the process look like to beating it? Do you just go a completely different way? Is it specific things that you focus on? Just tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, like early round info is definitely like the most important thing, you know, when you're attacking, because like we did obviously recognize that they repeated sites, but if you see like certain similarities with like they have 3 of the same ops, 4 of the same ops, you can kind of tell that it's going to play out the same, you know, especially with it being a new map. You know, not a lot of teams have like 5 strats a site like maybe on some of these other maps. So we identified specifically one of the basement rounds. I think it was the round that we ended up winning the attack on, I think in overtime. We knew that we were going to go basement. We saw like the similar ops, and instead of just going to a direct basement, we ended up actually roam clearing them because I mean, they didn't, like the previous rounds we just went direct, right? So they weren't used to it. They didn't know what we were doing. So yeah, exactly. They just played Ver, relied on the Ver, you know, we weren't pressuring them. So it's just, you know, they're free to do that. So we took Blitz. We took Blitz to roam clear them. I pressured lobby side. Richie walked up yellow stairs and he was pressuring that side. So we definitely got some pretty easy picks on the roamers, you know. We had really good info that round. We had a lot of good drones, a lot of good intel on those roamers. So I mean, as soon as we made it like a 5v2, you know, we just, at that point, I mean, it's pretty much just the rounds won. You just gotta reset and just win the round.
You guys have been able to score points in every single game that you played thus far. Even if there was one game that wasn't a win, it's still points every single time. The minimum threshold to crack into top 2 to get that first round bye has always been around 14 or 15 points, and you guys are at 14 already with still 3 games left to play. What do you do to make sure that you get the number of points that you get in Super Week? And are you trying to win every game, or are you just trying to hit that minimum threshold and then lay off the gas a little bit? What are you doing here?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, getting first or second place is definitely an advantage. You know, you get a bye, and you get like, I guess, another life if you want to put it that way. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, it doesn't matter. I think, you know, we could have like 0 points. We could literally not drop a single round. There's always things to improve, always ways to improve. You know, we want to get a win in any shape or form that we can. You know, obviously regulation wins are a lot easier, or like, I guess, a lot more convenient, you know, for points. But it doesn't matter. You know, I don't think any of us ever talk about standings a lot. You know, we approach, at the end of the day, like every week we approach it as if standings were like completely blanked and completely new. And, you know, I think the team has a very good environment around that. You know, I don't think anybody on the team lets their head get too big around, you know, us having like the record that we have or the points that we have or the wins that we have against other teams. So I definitely think that helps us. And yeah, I mean, like I said, like any other game, it doesn't matter who we're playing against, what the circumstance of the match is, what it means. We all treat it like the same.
Yep. Trying to go 1-0 every week. That's 100% the right mentality, dude. Again, congratulations. You guys are on a hot streak. We'll see you in Super Week. Don't let your foot off the gas. Have a good one, dude.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Number 1 for SQ. First time Lair gets played in North America. They claim the crown. It is nigh impossible to stop the Soniqs on what is right now a generational run.
Yeah, I mean, the main story for every single map that they've been playing is the processing in rounds, problem solving in rounds. You see it amongst every single game that they've played since the start of the stage, and it's only going to get better as they develop more strats. I mean, you heard him say some teams have 5 straps per site, so obviously the more time that they get to be able to depthen their arsenal, the more devastating they'll be to play against.
Yeah, and this roster's still very new in terms of picking up Troy and Surf. That was pretty last minute, so the fact that they're finding this much success this early on, we question how fast that would take, and it's really taking off in terms of the right trajectory for this team.
It's such a blistering fast pace, it's almost difficult to keep up with at this point. It's crazy how well they've gelled so fast.
Yeah, on the other end, I mean, it's definitely unfortunate that OXG wasn't able to come away with a win there. They ended up getting a point at least, but still, OXG, you could see the OXG passion that I feel like we've been used to seeing from that team in that game as it progressed. As they started getting closer and closer, you could see in the cams at the start, there wasn't much energy, but towards the middle, you could see Newers getting hyped, everyone getting excited. You know, even when they would lose big rounds, you could see the pain in their faces because they wanted to win it. And that was the first time that I've seen that since the start of the stage where the passion was radiating out of each player.
I don't think there's ever been, even on the old formats of the NAL, a team that in the best of ones went 0-6. So hopefully OXG can win a couple games, even if it's just one for the rest of this round robin phase, and they will have chances coming up during the Super Week. But here's the games that we had today. Space Station, Wildcard, Dark Zero, and Soniqs all finishing with W's as we close out our final play day before we get to Super Week.
Yeah, a little bit of a quick day. I mean, I think all of the games we expected to be closer were the first three. We didn't expect this last one to be as close as it did. So really
the games between the tighter teams weren't very close, and the games that were the two teams that were furthest apart was the closest game. What is this paradox?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it just goes to show when teams show up on the day. I mean, it's all about, doesn't really matter what statistics, who's better on what side. Sometimes you just show up on the day, and some players will play better than other days, you know? It's just how the game goes.
That's what I'm really excited for once we actually start getting into those playoff brackets, is we do get to see best of threes. We actually do get to see teams get tested and push the limit, because some teams really are naturally good in best of one environments, and then you put them in that best of three, and all of their just fatigue sets in, and some teams thrive in that chaos. I mean, so I really want to see what playoffs look like and just see the teams that we will be seeing in playoffs.
Yeah, the entire point of the best of ones, iron the kinks out before you get to the best of threes. It's exactly what this environment is for. And we'll look at the standings to get a picture. Soniqs started at the top. They will remain at the top, but the gap has now started to close a little bit. C9 Beast Coast losing their game plummets them down 2 more spots. DZ is back up into the top 2. Wildcard, Los, and OXG still making up the bottom 3, though in a slightly different order than when the day started.
Yeah, and next week we have the Hell Week. There's 3 days back to back to back. So literally all of the standings could potentially change if you see teams on the bottom just win out. Obviously, can they get to the top 2? Probably not at this point, but getting close enough to knock some teams that have been doing consistently well in the middle towards the bottom. So it's still not impossible to see teams at the bottom side make their way up.
And we said the important thing is, you know, regardless of you getting first, regardless of you getting 6th, you got to make it there. That's all that really matters, because that pushes you into playoffs. Just because you make playoffs doesn't guarantee you that invite spot to Montreal or that spot in Montreal. So you really just have to find yourself in those semifinals and then just play almost perfect throughout those brackets to secure your spot.
Yeah, even if you get top 2, that doesn't mean that you get the spot to go to Montreal. It's how Grixer put it, you get an extra life. But we've seen teams make it to top 2 and then fizzle out and not make it all the way through.
Scheduled for September 25th, 2024 is when Super Week of Stage 2 begins. The games look like this. Los and M80 will kick the day off. Dark Zero and Oxygen will meet in Game 2. And as we trickle down, we get to our highlight matchup. Cloud9 Beast Coast and Space Station will meet in the main event.
I think every one of those games is going to be a pretty good game once again. I mean, if Oxygen can keep putting up the performance that we even saw today, I think that'll be a pretty close game relatively with Dark Zero. But the Wildcard Luminosity, again, I've just really been excited watching Luminosity. Obviously for Wildcards, you know, we talk about they're finding their rhythm. If they can just stay consistent on both their back end and their front end, I mean, they can be a very competitive team. We can see that. But again, across the board, I think these are going to be really good games regardless of where the standings are sitting at right now.
Yeah, this day could definitely have a lot of upsets. 100% agree, DZ, OXG. If OXG show up how they played today, with that same amount of passion, this game could be a lot closer than we expected. But every single game, I mean, obviously, everyone's anticipating for the last game of the day. So, I mean, I would say that would be the day where the most upsets could occur so far.
For sure.
Yeah, you're probably right. I think it's kind of similar to what yesterday looked like, where we thought it might be, it had every right to be a very fast day, where it on the schedule might look like it, but there's going to be a couple of either very long games or a couple of upsets in the midst of that too. And again, we're playing on a Wednesday for the first time this stage, so that might throw a couple of teams off. It used to a lot more practice time, and then they get to game day and they're like, hang on a second, we're playing early. What the hell's going on?
I don't know. I mean, I know every single player, especially when I was a player. I mean, I think Spiker said in the interview today, you just want to get more games in. As many games as you can get in a week and just be playing. I mean, matches is what teams live for, and you can practice every single day of the week. You won't get the same amount of results than when you win or lose a match, and you can actually work on everything as it would be in the actual serious situation.
Well, it's just the sheer quality of a scrim versus an actual pro match. I mean, it's a night and day difference. As hard as you might go in scrims and as hard as the opponent you might go in scrims, it will will just never oh my God, I can't.
And it will never equal.
It'll never equal. It will never equal to what an actual pro match is, no matter who you're scrimming, no matter what the scrim looks like. So getting as many game day reps in as possible definitely helps any team improve from a negative sense, from a positive sense.
Remember, not every team has not every team has 3 games left to play in the Super Week. There will be 3 teams that have buys over that standing, which means that there are a couple of teams that only have a chance to get to 6 points as opposed to a full 9 spread. Some are going to have to win out to make playoffs. Some are going to have to win out to make top 2. Others are just fighting for their lives, trying to avoid the last chance qualifier at absolute all costs. For us here in Philadelphia, we are all done with the first 3 weeks of the North American League. Thank you very much for joining us. As always, we'll be back same time, same place on Wednesday next week. Mark your calendars. We're in studio 1 whole day early on week 4 as Super Week brings us to the conclusion of the North American League round robin. Have a good night. We'll see you then.
It's total calamity, total mayhem inside of the server. Out of nowhere, they find their round back into their favor.
Holding up for the plunder wave! And I think he might just find it!